A speaker has not been elected.
I mean, it's utter chaos, and the Republican Party has been shamed.
Chaos has only continued in the Republican-controlled House, with the media, conservative media, now not too happy about what Republicans are doing. So I'm going to get to how the media has reacted to all of this. Again, this is Kevin McCarthy, has now lost 5 rounds of voting. As I am recording this, they are currently starting a 6th round of voting. This is the first time a speaker has not been chosen on the first vote since 1923. In 1923, it took 9 rounds of voting to pick speaker. We're at 6 now. Who knows how long this is going to go? There appears to be no breaks. Again, this fight within the Republican Party is not about policy. It's all about personal branding. So there are no, this whole fight is over nothing. Yet they continue, these 20 or so members that keep voting against McCarthy are doing a great job making their party look like shit. So I hope it continues, because there's nothing going to get done anyways. Democrats control the Senate, so whether or not anything happens here, I honestly don't know what the difference will really be. I'm sure here and there procedural votes, that'll be the impact, but largely this fight's all for nothing. It really is bizarre why they are fighting this when nothing's going to get done anyway. But and again, it's bizarre to me, because if I were there, I'd actually maybe want to help people. But these lawmakers that are all there, it's all for personal branding. It's all for themselves. They don't really care. But I'll check back to see where we're at with the vote at the end of this video. But before I even get to how the media has reacted to this, I want to show you just this clip here from November 5th, 2020. You see how there's a little notification here about how there's maybe some garbage being said in this clip. Well, check this out. So if you feel bad for McCarthy at all for some reason, because all his friends are turning on him, let me play this.
They didn't defeat one Republican incumbent, and they lost 15. And President Trump won this election. So everyone who's listening, do not be quiet. Do not be silent about this. We cannot allow this to happen before our very eyes. We unite together. And you don't need to be a Republican. You believe in every legal vote needs to count. You believe in the American process. Join together and let's stop this.
Look how fake this guy is. Here he claims Trump won the election when he lost. Yet you have these members that are against McCarthy right now claiming, at least some of them claiming, that McCarthy isn't with the MAGA base, isn't far right enough. Yet here he was on board with Trump's bullshit back after the election. Now, of course, that eventually changed, even though it slightly changed, not really. Again, McCarthy has just enabled all of what, at least in terms of policy, all of what the MAGA base has wanted to accomplish or push through. He's cheered it all on. So there really is no moderate here, as some are trying to claim. McCarthy is as far right as you could possibly get. Again, no difference here in terms of policy. They're all in agreement. So let's start with Ben Shapiro's reaction to all of this madness.
Of course, Democrats are jubilant. They're in the minority. They lost control, and the Republicans are busy fighting with each other. Now, again, does any of this have real high stakes? No. Somebody will be elected Speaker of the House. In the end, it will probably be a Republican. It will probably be Kevin McCarthy. And then we'll all go back to sleep. This does not have widespread consequences. What it does do is it, again, underscores one of the reasons Republicans did very poorly in the last election cycle. And one of the reasons Republicans did very poorly in the last election cycle is a general perception that Republicans are incompetent and foolish. It's not because people like Democrats. People don't like Joe Biden. People don't like John Fetterman. People don't like Raphael Warnock. People are not in love with Mark Kelly. What happened is that Republicans ran a bunch of candidates who are not particularly good. And there is a generalized feeling among the populace that the Republicans are not capable of making their own breakfast. And when you keep demonstrating over and over again that you're not capable of making your own breakfast, people say, okay, well, I don't like those other guys, but at least they're capable of making their own breakfast. At least they run like a machine.
Ben Shapiro here, even more hysterical than usual. So you can tell things are not going well on the right side of the aisle. Here is now Fox's The Five, in particular Jeanine Pirro, chiming in here.
And McCarthy's still confident he's going to be Speaker eventually. Keep this in mind. Until Republicans can agree on a Speaker, the House is basically frozen, meaning they can't even swear in new members or investigate Biden like they promised. Judge Janine.
Yes.
Not a good look for Republicans today.
No. The ordinary American is sitting home and saying, what the heck is wrong with these people? We elected them. We worked hard. We gave them money. We now have the majority in the House, and they can't get along with each other. They don't like have enough problems with the Democrats that they at least can't align against the Democrats. Here's the
And
Janine Pirro, not very happy either. And I think right there she was
that makes rational national sense.
She was making some rational national sense. Moving on, let's get to primetime stuff. So, Sean Hannity, what does he have to say about all this?
New year with the Fox News alert. It is day one of the 188th Congress, and House Republicans now are on the verge of becoming a total clown show if they're not careful. But despite the cheering and elation from Democrats and the mob and the media, it's not a dire situation yet.
On the verge of becoming a clown show. So he actually goes on and says this.
And tonight we ask the question, how about this question? What would Ronald Reagan say? What would Ronald Reagan do? Now, as President Reagan famously told his staff, quote, the person that agrees with you 80% of the time is a friend and an ally, not a 20% traitor. Republicans, they would be wise to heed that advice. As
Reagan was also in favor of amnesty. Can you imagine a modern day Republican president giving amnesty to immigrants? I cannot. But look, you have so far every single, whether it's Shapiro, Fox is the Five, Sean Hannity, they're all critical right now of that small group of Republicans that are coming out against Kevin McCarthy. Let's check in on Laura Ingraham. All right. The left's war against religious Americans. So apparently, credit here to Aaron Rupar. This is how Laura Ingraham led her show. Moving on. Let's get to Tucker. So just credit again. So Aaron Rupar and ACY and this guy, largely the ones I'm pulling clips from here. They are really good at capturing this stuff as it happens. Here is Tucker Carlson, which makes sort of takes a position that maybe kind of surprises me.
Because they decided that Kevin McCarthy is not conservative enough to represent a party that's just taken back the House from Nancy Pelosi. And they are definitely right about that.
Before I let him go on, he doesn't say how they are right about it. He doesn't put policies McCarthy is against that the other ones are for. Doesn't mention how McCarthy was spreading Trump's election garbage right after the election. There is no difference between McCarthy and someone like Gates on policy. They are the same. So the idea that McCarthy isn't conservative enough is just complete trash.
McCarthy is not especially conservative. He is, in fact, ideologically agnostic. He's flexible. His real constituency is the lobbying community in Washington. So if you've got sincere political beliefs, that is infuriating to watch. On the other hand, to be fair, this is politics, and McCarthy does have strengths. It's not easy being Speaker when the House is this closely divided, and in some ways, Kevin McCarthy is perfectly suited for that. He is skilled in politics, not a small thing. And critically, McCarthy is willing to spend the next 2 years living in hotel rooms raising money for his party ahead of a historic presidential election. What other Republican in the House is willing to do that? Well, as of tonight, and we have checked, no one has stepped forward.
So this is what kind of surprised me about Tucker's position here, is that he's someone who would normally be against, or at least vocalize, pretend that he is against what the establishment wants, which is, in this case, Kevin McCarthy. But here he is basically in support of him. He's trying to play both sides by saying, oh, well, he's not conservative enough. But at the same time, who wants this job raising all this money? So he kind of takes a both sides approach because he knows how stupid the Republicans look, so he can't go all in on the anti-McCarthy stuff, while at the same time, he doesn't want to be too pro-McCarthy because he wants to keep that crazy base going. So he plays both sides here. Now let's get to my favorite, Stuart Varney. So this is on Fox Business, so maybe it's, a little different. Not really, but here's Stuart Varney, who has been very critical of especially Donald Trump recently, but also doesn't take a lot of crap at all here from Ronna McDaniel, who is trying to throw up a smokescreen around this whole thing.
I do think at the end of the day, there's compromise there. And I do think there's a way for these 222 members to come together and say, we have to tackle the border. We have to make sure we're doing the things that the American people want us to do. We have an energy crisis. We have recession looming. We are seeing this out of control spending coming from the Democrats. And I think we at a policy level are more united than ever. So let's just get the business of the American people done.
But you got 5, 6, 7 holdouts who say, no, there's no way we're voting for McCarthy. I mean, absolutely no way. Just won't do it.
I'm more hopeful than that. I think there is a way. I think there's always a path.
What's the way?
Especially when you look at the Democrats and what they're doing to this country, and especially when you look at what the American people want us to do. They just elected us
You keep saying
to take
there
over
is
the
a
House,
way to
so
bring
let's
this
get it
conference
done.
together. What is that way?
I think there's a way. Get in a closed door room, figure it out,
been doing
have
it
a
for the last
kumbaya
18
moment,
hours.
figure out what we need to do to make sure that we're able to come together, elect a speaker, and get moving. And Kevin has elected so many of these candidates. He's been traveling the country. He's raised so much money. And I think there's a lot of common ground that's still there to be had. You heard Byron Donald say it. I think that we can get this done and get a speaker elected and move forward with the business of the American people.
Okay. One last real
I'm hopeful, Stuart. I'm hopeful. We have to come together.
Credit here to Stuart Varney for not taking any of this political speak trash, where clearly there doesn't appear to be any way out of this unless something drastic happens in terms of a change on either side. But let's just finish off this clip.
Yeah, because if you don't, I mean, it's utter chaos, and the Republican Party has been shamed, frankly, hasn't it?
We have to come together. The American people, they don't understand all the rules and motion to vacate. They want to see us do the business of their business. I mean, they know that our country's not on the right track. You look at every right track, wrong track poll right now. They don't feel better under the Biden administration. They want to see us tackle what's happening at the border. They want to see us take care of our kids who are still having major deficits coming out of the pandemic. They want us to tackle the crime that's happening under Democrat rule in Democrat cities across this country.
Okay. I could go on like a whole different video on all the bullshit she's spewing here at the end about caring about kids. There was the ability to continue the child tax credit. Not a single Republican vote for that. Not to mention whether it's, healthcare, whether it's childcare. I mean, whether it's actually funding public schools. The idea that Republicans care about kids at all is such bullshit. But anyways, Varney here, not taking this garbage. Let me go on to Marjorie Taylor Greene. So this is actually from last night after McCarthy lost his, first 1 or 2 votes. Here is Taylor Greene calling out everyone. So I'm going to get to in a second here. I'm sure many of you already know, but it's weird to see Marjorie Taylor Greene on the side of McCarthy here. Again, considering we usually see her as sort of the rebel, the person speaking out against the established Republican Party, even though, again, ideologically, policy-wise, they're all aligned. But here she is with McCarthy. And vocally with McCarthy, angry about it, getting out there, criticizing other members who are anti-McCarthy. I'm going to get to why she is so animated here, but let me show you all the exposing she does of her fellow members.
That's what I found out in there. I'm furious. Well, let me tell you something. While the conservatives that the base supports and believes in, let me remind everyone, they're not perfect either. Scott Perry, before his general election, refused to vote against the bill that was all about the gay marriage bill. He didn't. He refused to vote against it. He voted for it. Then, when it came back around after his election, he was able to vote against it. Conservatives would not like that. Let me remind everyone this: Matt Gaetz, who has compared Kevin McCarthy to Paul Ryan, my friend Matt Gaetz, he supported Paul Ryan almost more than anyone. It's still on his social media. As a matter of fact, his first vote in Congress was for Paul Ryan as Speaker. and then he cheered him on for nearly a year and a half or more when people like me were at home furious at Paul Ryan's speakership because it wasn't passing the MAGA agenda that we all supported. Chip Roy, he refused to object on January 6th. That's not what our base wanted. He also set out the...
Okay, I was going to play the whole clip, but I'm not sure how much more I could take of Marjorie Taylor Greene. She goes on to also criticize Lauren Boebert and how Lauren Boebert took, money from McCarthy to win her election, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, these are all accurate criticisms, but it's weird to see her on the side. And just as I'm looking at the time here, this was likely before the first vote that McCarthy lost that she knew he was going to lose. But she is being very vocal here. And this is why McCarthy has invested heavily in his relationship with Greene, and meeting with her weekly and promising to reinstate her committee assignments if Republicans take back the majority. Greene's defense of McCarthy at a time when he's so vulnerable will be richly rewarded if he becomes Speaker, likely with a plum position on the powerful House Oversight Committee. Marjorie Taylor Greene not only is backing McCarthy, but is out there in front of cameras saying all this stuff in support of him and being basically his attack dog because she is promised a nice position if he becomes Speaker. This, again, all goes back to career. How they will personally benefit. So it's not like Taylor Greene is all about, I'm for the country, I want to help people, that's why I'm backing Kevin McCarthy. No, it's because of what she's getting out of it. So the members that are anti-McCarthy, they probably aren't getting anything. They probably aren't getting any committee assignments. They probably aren't getting, that's really all I could imagine them fighting over that. And they also want the ability to recall Kevin McCarthy with a single member. So start a vote to recall him if one person wants to do that, which would just lead to endless chaos. McCarthy wouldn't be able to really do anything without the threat of potentially having a vote to get rid of him because one person may not agree with something he's doing. So that's a stupid rule, but that's what they're asking for here, and McCarthy won't budge for obvious reasons. But just to end on quickly, Trump, of course, is still supporting McCarthy. Here he is, and some nice coats on the side. Renewing his call for members to back McCarthy. And this is it even worth reading this? I'll read some of this. This is his Truth Social message supporting McCarthy. Some really good conversations took place last night, and it's now time for all of our great Republican House members to vote for Kevin. Close the deal, take the victory, and watch crazy Nancy Pelosi fly back home to a very broken California. The only speaker in U.S. history to have lost the House twice. She's not even... Hakeem Jeffries is running again. Okay. Republicans, do not turn a great triumph into a giant embarrassing defeat. It's time to celebrate. You deserve it. Kevin McCarthy will do a good job and maybe even a great job. Just watch. Very strong endorsement here of Kevin McCarthy. Maybe he could do a great job. I don't know. So here is Lauren Boebert talking back at Donald Trump. Here's what she says about all this.
So let's work.
And this is after the fourth vote that McCarthy lost.
Together, let's stop with the campaign smears and tactics to get people to turn against us. Even having my favorite president call us and tell us we need to knock this off. I think it actually needs to be reversed. The president needs to tell Kevin McCarthy that, sir, you do not have the votes and it's time to withdraw. With that, I yield. Thank you.
So, I don't know. Boebert going for her power play against Donald Trump here. I really don't know how this is all going to go down. There could, in a crazy world, there could be a deal here worked out where some Democrats decide to vote present in order to lower the threshold that McCarthy needs in order to become Speaker. But what would that deal entail? Like, why would those Democrats do that? But that's one potential way out of this. Another is that Hakeem Jeffries and McCarthy come together and find a consensus person for both of their caucuses to support, and that person becomes Speaker. I have no idea how this is all going to end. But regardless of how it ends, the GOP still control the House. So nothing's going to get done regardless. Let me check before we end here. So there is a sixth vote going on as I'm recording this. I'm sure, look, so far, McCarthy still has a potential. only 2 votes against him. But considering there are already 2, and he can't have more than 4 against him, very likely he's going to lose the 6th vote as well. So this will likely just continue. But again, I'm not even sure what the difference is going to be, because they can't get anything done regardless. But we will see. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe McCarthy, maybe Jeffries, maybe somebody else. We're going to have to wait.